Night fell thickly over the estate's wet fields. Inside the old mansion, the rain pattered patiently against the high glass windows of the reading room. A veil of steam covered the windows, as if the house breathed from within, exhaling secrets and desires long locked away within its silent walls. My bedroom was in the attic, and that night, like so many others since I moved, Sleep refused to visit me. I tossed and turned in the four-poster bed, ripped off my light cotton nightgown and put it back on. My breath came in short gasps, my body was restless, my thoughts even worse. I descended the ancient stairs, avoiding the creaking steps. The house was plunged in darkness, lit only by the faint flames of the lamps flickering in the hallways. I went to the pantry to get some water, but my feet took me to the small living room, where the fireplace was smoldering, casting golden reflections on the walls covered in wine-colored wallpaper. I sat on the divan by the window. The heat from the fire competed with the heat coming from within me, and it wasn't a fever, if you know what I mean. It was then that I heard footsteps shuffling across the polished floor. A steady, slow, familiar step. It was him, Baron Augustin, my late aunt's husband, who now ran everything around here and who, for months, had been looking at me with eyes that said everything without saying anything. "Also sleepless?" he asked hoarsely, emerging from the shadows. He was coatless, his white shirt unbuttoned at the top, his dark hair disheveled, and his feet bare on the oriental rug. That carefree, raw appearance always disarmed me. He was handsome. Handsome in a mature, dangerous way. Once I heard the cook whisper, "The Baron looks like one of those French heartthrobs from soap operas." And it was true. And worse, he knew it. "Insomnia, as usual," I replied, pulling the blanket that rested on the arm of the divan over my legs. He came over and sat across from me in a worn leather chair. We sat in silence for a while. The rain outside seemed to match our breathing. The fireplace light sculpted his face with dancing shadows. And I knew something was growing there, something old, but we pretended not to name it. "You're becoming too beautiful a woman for this house, you know?" he blurted, not meeting my eyes. I hesitated for a second, pretend I didn't hear, tease, feign innocence. "Is that a compliment or a warning, Baron?" I asked with a wry smile. He turned his head and looked at me for the first time. His gaze, oh, that gaze. It was hungry and calm, a kind of threat that, instead of fear, made me feel hot between my legs. Chills ran down my spine, both of them, he said. The pause in the air seemed to have a taste. The tension surrounding us was as thick as the velvet curtains. I settled back on the couch, trying to appear disinterested. In vain. "Has your mother slept yet?" I asked, in a futile attempt to cut that invisible thread. "She slept a long time ago. She was exhausted." The tone of his answer was deliberate. A surrender. A warning. A permission. "You've changed, Eleanor," he said, his gaze sliding over my body, covered only by a fabric too thin for cold nights. "You're freer. More dangerous. That worries me." "Why does it worry you?" I teased. "Because some men don't know how to control themselves." I knew he wasn't talking about other men. My hands tightened on the crystal glass. The heat seemed to come from the floor, or from within, or from somewhere I preferred not to name. "Do you think I'm the type to tease?" I asked, almost in a whisper. He didn't answer right away. He was reading me, undressing me with his eyes. "I don't think you have any idea the effect you have, and yet, you do." My body reacted before my mind. The hairs on my arms stood on end. My thighs pressed together as if by reflex. He moved closer, slowly, without touching. But I felt the heat of his skin, and he sent a mixture of light tobacco and lavender soap. Warm, forbidden. "Are you cold?" he asked, his eyes fixed on the loose neckline of my nightgown. "Number, I think I'm hot." The sentence came out weaker than it should have, more provocative, almost an invitation. His hand rested on the back of the couch, behind my neck. It didn't touch me, but it burned nonetheless. His breath fanned my neck. My bent knees were exposed. I let him. The blanket slipped slowly, revealing the skin of my thigh. I did nothing to stop it. "You should sleep," he whispered. "You too," I replied, my eyes locked with his. Time stood still. The room felt too cramped for the two of us. Tension filled every corner. I saw his strong fingers grip the chair. I saw the pulse pounding in his neck. And I saw, in the gleam in his eyes, that he was paying too much attention too. "Have you always been this provocative?" he asked, still not touching, but closer than ever. "And have you always observed this much?" I replied. The atmosphere was heavy, sweet, and dangerous. The distance between us was no longer physical, it was moral, and even that was beginning to crumble. "This is wrong," he murmured. "It depends. Wrong for whom?" The silence that followed was louder than the rain outside. He leaned in. His hand, now so close, still didn't touch me, but I felt every muscle in my body begging him to, for us to cross that line that, let's face it, no longer existed. "Are you teasing me?" he asked softly. "Maybe I'm just tired of pretending not to notice how you look at me." His breath caught. Mine did too. And it was there, in the midst of that pent-up combustion, that it all began. "If you've made it this far, tell me, has the temperature risen there too? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. There's much more passion, romance, and secrets to come." The night still breathed within me. The walls of the manor house held the heat of that whispered conversation by the fire, as if they had witnessed something sacred or profane. My body remained electric, even hours later. The way he touched my shoulder, the way his fingers traced my neck, tracing invisible paths that throbbed inside me like a warm secret. I should have left, I said so, but I stayed. And so did he. "Do you really want to leave?" Lord Thorne murmured hoarsely, his hand still on my bare shoulder. My eyes spoke more than any words. They were half-closed, languid, heavy with desire. My body spoke for me, the way my legs brushed gently against his, the way my lips parted in silence. Everything was an answer. "You're so beautiful," he whispered, his fingers now trailing down the side of my neck with devastating slowness. I closed my eyes. A shiver started at the nape of my neck and traveled down to my core. His hand strayed into my hair with dangerous tenderness. I almost moaned, but only sighed, long, heavy. "This is wrong," I murmured, almost like a belated warning. "Then tell me to stop," he said. But I didn't. I stood there, still, burning under the touch that didn't ask for permission, but didn't force it either. It was a touch that begged for complicity, and I gave it. Every cell in me begged him not to stop. "Say something," he urged, his voice hoarse with pent-up desire. "If I tell you, will you stop?" I teased with a half-smile. He chuckled, the laugh of a man about to commit a sin. His hand slid to my cheek, heated, hungry. I pressed my face into his palm with intention. I wanted him to feel how much I burned inside. The flower of my body pulsed violently, throbbed with hunger. "Do you have any idea what you're doing to me?" "I do," I replied with a wicked smile. "And you? Do you have any idea what you're doing to me?" "None," he confessed. "But I can't stop." The truth is, he didn't need to say anything else. His body spoke. The bulge beneath the light fabric of his sleep pants said it all. My eyes dropped. My legs closed involuntarily. The heat rose in waves, suffocating my mind. "Are you hot too?" he asked, his eyes glued to my headlights, lit beneath my thin nightgown. "You see me trembling, don't you?" He nodded, his mouth slightly open. I didn't even need to touch you to make you react like that." He leaned in, our faces inches apart. I could smell his breath, that scent of a waking man, of light sweat mixed with the ancient perfume that only he wore. Lord Thorne smelled of temptation. "Evelyn," he whispered, as if asking permission to cross a boundary he himself had helped to draw. I remained still. The no never came. The yes was already in every inch of my body. He nuzzled my neck, breathing deeply, as if to absorb me. My hips moved slightly. A subtle brush, almost innocent. But there was no innocence there anymore. "You taste like forbidden fruit," he murmured against my skin. "Then bite," I teased. He laughed, a low laugh of a man determined to sin, and that made me tremble even more. His hand slid to my knee. It moved slowly, then rose, inch by inch. The blanket slipped from my lap, as if it had a mind of its own. I was exposed, surrendered. The fabric of my nightgown rose with his touch. My fingers dug into the upholstery of the divan, holding on to the self-control that was already an illusion. "If you ask me, I'll stop," he repeated, his voice weak with desire. "You've crossed the line, you know that," I whispered. "Now, bear what comes." His gaze glowed like embers. His hand, which had been on my thigh, rose a little higher. It stopped just short of what would have been too much. I could feel his heat there. The heat alone made me shiver. I leaned in. I rested my forehead against his. The air between us vibrated. It was alive, and I was about to give in. "Do you feel how hot I am, my lord?" He groaned softly. His fingers slid to the side of my hip. I writhed, teasing. I offered myself without giving in completely. "You drive me crazy, Evelyn," he said, his eyes fixed on mine. "You have no idea what could happen if you continue." "Then continue," I replied, running my hand along the back of his neck, guiding him like someone taming a wild beast. The rain outside was getting heavier. Lightning lit the room for moments, like flashes of fate. And in one of those flashes of light, our eyes met. Intense, carnivorous. But I stopped. I got up slowly, like someone who knows their own power. I dragged my body along his, leaving a trail of heat. I stood before him, thin nightgown, hair loose, headlights on. He looked at me like a man too hungry to resist. "Tomorrow, Lady Maureen will leave early," I whispered, "and I still haven't decided if I'll sleep in my room." I turned my back. I walked out like a silent provocation. I knew he was watching me. I knew I'd won, without taking off my clothes. I didn't sleep that night. I just turned on my side in bed, remembering the touch, the smell, the tension. My little flower pulsed as if it still felt his fingers there. At dawn, I heard Lady Maureen's footsteps. Hairdryer, cup, gate, and then silence. It was just the two of us in the house. I got up lazily, like someone waking from an indecent dream. I put on a loose blouse, without a corset. A pair of light shorts, a rare thing back then, but one I only wore when I wanted to provoke. I tied my hair in a loose bun. I dabbed perfume behind my ears, and I went. He was in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, shirtless. The steam from the tea dampened his chest. His abdominal muscles traced a path that disappeared beneath his linen pants. I looked shamelessly. "Good morning," I said hoarsely. He turned slowly. He swallowed hard. "You're going to drive me crazy," he murmured. "Aren't you already?" I smiled, moving closer. "And the day has barely begun. If you've made it this far, comment for me. What would you do in her place? Leave your opinion below. I love reading your comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel." Lord Malden approached like a silent wolf in the forest. His hands rested on the sides of the marble sink in the utility room, trapping me between his firm arms. The heat from his body radiated like a living fireplace. His face was mere inches from mine, His scent was a mixture of strong coffee, light sweat, and woody cologne, a scent that made me tremble inside. "Are you sure?" he asked, his eyes flashing. "Because if I touch you again, I won't be able to stop." I took a deep breath. Heat rose up my thighs, burst into my belly, invaded my skin. My little flower responded before my mouth could. Then touch. It was a whisper, but firm, and he obeyed. The kiss came with the fury of someone who sinned, knowing there would be no turning back. It wasn't a fairy tale kiss. It was the kiss of a condemned man who would rather burn than deny his desire. His lips came hot, moist, hungry. His hands slid down my back, discovering every curve like someone reading a forbidden book by candlelight. My legs weakened. He lifted me easily and sat me on the stone countertop between the porcelain cups and the still warm kettle. The heat of his skin pressed firmly against my core. I was wet before he even touched me. The headlights screamed beneath the linen of my nightgown. His hands tightened around my waist as if he feared I would disappear. His lips moved down to my neck, biting my collarbone. A low moan escaped my chest. A confessional whisper. "You're everything I can't have," he said through gritted teeth. "Then, do me right," I teased, panting. He chuckled against my skin. A deep, warm laugh that vibrated deep in my belly. His hands ran hungrily down my thighs. They hurriedly tugged at the short, light fabric. My body opened to him like a flower in the early morning dew. I slowly spread my legs. An invitation. A surrender. The first lick was like a bonfire lit in a dry field. He started slowly. His tongue danced with precision, exploring my little flower as if it were an altar. I writhed on the counter. I gripped his hair like someone holding on to their sanity. Every movement sent shivers down my spine. My moans were desperate sighs. "You taste like what's forbidden," he murmured between licks. And I lost myself. When he connected, he did so carefully, hardly, urgently. The sensation of being filled by him made my eyes roll back. My legs tightened around his waist. My body trembled, sweat dripped. And he obeyed. The thrust came steadily, rhythmically. His hips moved like a tribal dance. Each thrust was a new shiver. My little flower burned, vibrated, begged for more. Until he rested his forehead against mine, sweaty, panting, eyes locked, a gesture too intimate for something so wrong. It was at that moment that I understood this would never again be just a mistake. The explosion came like a storm. My body arched, moans trapped in his neck. My legs trembled as my little flower faded in heat, and he came right after, hot, intense, whole, panting. Dirty with me. We were pressed together, skin to skin, hearts in the same rhythm. I hugged him by the neck, and I murmured, "There's no turning back now, Edmund." He kissed my forehead silently, but his silence said it all. The kitchen still smelled of coffee and sin. My feet touched the cold floor, but my body continued to burn. The countertop felt marked. That morning had become an invisible scar. He was the first to leave. He pulled on the shirt that was thrown over a chair. I remained there, sitting, my nightgown clinging to my sweaty body, my hair messy, my chest heaving. "I'm going upstairs. I need a shower," he said without looking at me. "Okay," I replied, my voice caught in my throat. I heard his footsteps on the stairs, and something inside me broke. I was desired like never before, and forgotten so soon after. I stood up slowly, my legs still trembling. I went to the living room, where it had all begun. The rumpled couch, the shawl thrown on the floor. Everything seemed to have been touched by the scene. I lay there, but rest wouldn't come. My mind filled with questions. What now? When Lady Madeleine returns, will we pretend nothing happened? Or pretend everything is still happening? I closed my eyes. But the touches returned, the lick, the entry. His whisper saying my name in that deep voice, and the little flower tightened again at the mere memory. But along with the heat came the nausea of doubt. Had I been just a moment? I got up from the sofa, furious with myself. I went to the bedroom, took off my clothes, and stepped into the shower. But the water didn't wash away his scent or his taste. I pressed my face against the cold tile, trying to calm myself. But the desire returned. When I left, he was already downstairs. Dressed, hair styled, drinking tea as if he were the same man as always. "Are you going out?" I asked, still wrapped in the towel. "I have some obligations in the village, and your mother said she'll be back a while." We were silent. I expected a word, anything. But he just grabbed the carriage keys and left as if to buy bread. The door slammed, and I knew something in me had changed. I spent the day feigning normalcy, but everything brought me back to where we'd been. That evening, Lady Madeline arrived. Exhausted, talkative, talking about her visit to her aunt in York. "Your stepfather arrived recently. He's sorting out some paperwork in the office," she commented casually. And I smiled. I pretended. I kept a secret that still seeped hot inside me. That night, I lay in bed and stayed there. Silence. Waiting. His footsteps came. Slow. They stopped at the door. He didn't knock. He didn't come in. He stood there for a few seconds. Then he went to his room. And my body was roused again. Because I knew he wanted it again. And so did I. And you? What did you think of this story so far? Comment below if you made it to the end and tell me, where are you watching from? I love knowing who's on the other side of the screen. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe to the Fábrica de Historias channel, and see you in the next video.